Thank you for joining XROM, which is India's first AR/VR focused podcast. And today I'm delighted to have with me Dr. M. Manivanan, who is a pioneer in the field of haptics, a professor of biomedical engineering in IIT Madras, Department of Applied Mechanics. He is the founder, chairman at Merkle Haptics, and also the founder of CAVE Consortium, India's first consortium of sorts, which is of augmented reality and virtual reality experts. So it's a pleasure and honor to have you on the show. Really appreciate you taking time being part of the podcast. So could you start with a brief introduction, background, and what got you interested in virtual reality?
Thank you, Eddie. First of all, now congratulate you for running this show. And from IIT Madras, we will help you, support you as much as possible. I would like to now go back to my maybe travel some 20 years before. I was working in a laboratory called the Touch Lab at MIT, Boston, and I was there for about 5 years. And after returning to India, that's in 2005. That's about 15 years ago. I took up the faculty position as a professor of biomedical engineering, and so for last 15 years we have this lab called a haptics lab, unique lab in India. Still, it has not got the attention so far. So not many people know about what haptics is. Haptics has got a Nobel Prize for medicine is awarded to a scientist who invented some receptors as far as the touch sensation is concerned. So slowly this field of haptics is coming to picture and it is getting good visibility, but so far it was not. So that is when I thought that just working on haptics alone is not good enough. So a larger picture of where haptics is coming from, that's where the experiential learning, virtual reality, and augmented reality together probably now will help us to reach out more and benefit more people is what the idea, and that's where I'm coming from.
In the near future, when we have a AR/VR device which is easily accessible and maybe an haptic feedback, the entire learning field could get completely upended, because learning the basics starts with experiences. That's the only way you learn best when you experience learning. And today, obviously, our education industry has largely been rote learning industry, and these technologies and tools can completely transfer the way how we educate our students. So I'm really excited about AR/VR and it converging with technologies such as haptic feedback and things like that. And congratulations on everything that you've been doing. I think is one of those single individual in the country who's forefronting the haptic ecosystem or conversation here in India. So for my listeners who don't really understand what haptics is, let's start over there. Start by explaining what haptic feedback is and why do we need it.
You were mentioning about experiential learning, specifically in IIT Madras. All the students are they have a very good education compared to the other places because they get to experience things. They have the practical experience. Nowhere else they can find out otherwise, right? So this experiential, practical experience is what making IIT Madras unique. Right now, similarly in other IITs as well. So what is the experience? It is not just about seeing things. It is also feeling things. It is touching and feeling it. It is like doing things. So our hands make up very big part of being the experiential, right? So this is where the haptics is coming to picture. If you look at the virtual reality, we can see things, we can move things, but we feel the things in the virtual reality. That is where the haptics come into picture. Can I touch and feel it? For doctors, for example, if you are looking at skills training for the doctors, they have to touch and feel it. They have to touch the patient. They have to, if they are doing some surgery, they have to feel the tissues. They have to do the injection with their touch feeling. There are some blind procedures where visual cannot be helpful at all, where only the haptics can come. So only haptics can now play a role. These are the places where the touch feedback or haptic feedback is very crucial. So what is haptics? Haptics is not just touching and feeling. Unlike other visual, where it's only the sense, or auditory is only hearing. Haptics is now touching and feeling the texture of it, manipulating it, and also now changing the object itself. Action comes into picture. Now, motor action. We use our motor system. We use our muscle system, musculoskeletal system to change the object, to interface with the computer interfaces. Anywhere the motor system is involved is where the haptics is. In IIT Madras, we teach not only the basics of the haptic, but also how do we bring in the haptics components into virtual reality? How do we design virtual reality system? How do we design virtual reality software, virtual reality hardware? Because there's a lot of engineering component in there. There's a psychology component in there. There's a medical component in there. So I hope I have given some idea about what is haptic and why it is necessary.
Right. Yeah. I think, once we have, the capabilities of building haptic products, which can actually emulate of physical senses, that will transform industries. You mentioned about doctors' skill training. Imagine a world where a doctor is sitting in an urban area and with a 5G and robotic this thing, he can actually feel the instruments and how the whatever the surgeries and things that he's doing. Besides that, I think with medical universities, the problem with here in India is there's always a line to get a human cadaver, because it's not very easy, especially with with the COVID. The entire university was shut, the students were sitting at home. But with virtual reality, and if we have these haptic gloves and haptic this thing, you can actually learn and really experience how you would actually be touching, feeling a human body. So these are exciting things. Now, just for the audience who don't really know, because see, these senses are really the way we humans are made. We got 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, smell, taste. And now these are extremely complex. With virtual reality, we have sort of kind of emulated the visual, and we've also sort of emulated the audio with binaural or spatial sound. Now we really not completely emulated the way it is, but we have gone maybe really close to it, how we actually see and how we actually hear. Now taste, we still far away. Touch, these are very complex things. How does one go about building such a complex thing into a product?
That's a very good question, very important question as well. As I mentioned, haptics involved both sensing and manipulation. It's a musculoskeletal system. So the haptics research or feeling the virtual objects involves simplification, like what they have done in the visual system and the auditory system, right? So the compound eye is reduced to one simple camera, single hole, and there is no phobia about this thing, right? So similarly, now these 2 years with now 2 different mics or where the stereo hearing can be heard. Similarly, the entire hand, if you look at it, it is reduced to one single point. Can you imagine? So the hand is such a complex system. In fact, if you understand what a degree of freedom is, the hand is as having about 27 or 28 degrees of freedom. Okay. It is such a complex hand with so much of receptors in the order. But for the simplification, for making advancement in engineering, some of the scientists, what they have done is that reduce the entire hand 27 degrees of freedom into single degree of single point with a 3 degree of freedom. Okay, so this point, the entire hand reduced to a point, is now collision detected with the 3D objects. When there is a collision, then you give some response, whether it is a force feedback or texture or some other response you can actually give. So that is how the simplification in haptics also started. The complex system is reduced to simplest one. Of course, the few researchers are trying to build on this simplest system into a little complex system, but they are all still in the research phase. What is out there in the market is the most simple system like of hand reduced to a simple point. That is unfortunate, but that's where the state of the art is. Of course, we have a long way to go. We will reach, but slowly.
What would be the timelines, according to you, for emulating the entire sensation of touch and feel? Because it's a two-way communication. It's not one way. It's not just touching. You're also feeling those things. When do you think we will have haptic feedback, haptic body gloves, haptic suits, or haptic products, which will be able to simulate or complete sensation of touch and feel? While you are at it, you could also talk about the products that you are building at Merkle Haptics.
Our whole body is full of touch, not only the skin, but also interior. Every blood vessel, every tissue, every cell has a touch sense. So if you're now mentioning entire touch, then it is going to be very, very complex. So right now, what the technology is, the whole hand, as I told you, is reduced to a single point. That too with a stick like this, like a pen. So imagine with a pen, you are exploring objects. When you are now scratching the table or scratching the cell phone, how it would feel like. That is what is simulated in the haptics. That is the state of the art. And if you want to stimulate certain parts of the body, for example, latest there is a Tesla suit. I'm sure you are aware of it, which gives you the touch feedback. That is actually giving you a feeling of punching or some touching to a specific part of the body, only to the skin in the chest or the back of it or two parts of it, not the entire body. Giving the touch feedback to the entire body is next to impossible, but maybe the last stage of the haptic research, we are very, very far away from there. So coming back to a couple of products that we are building in IIT Madras, and these products are developed into prototypes are being built in IIT Madras, and then this is taken to Merkle Haptics for being made into a product. So Merkle Haptics is focused on helping the doctors in their training of various clinical skills. We have one of the successful products called IVF, in vitro fertilization simulator for training. So if you look at the IVF procedure, it involves very carefully harvesting the oocytes. In the common term, we call it an egg from mother, and then make an embryo outside with a sperm, and then put it back once this oocyte is innervated, can be put into the bed. This needs a very careful, fine motor skills or haptic skills. This has been simulated in a simulator, and this has been made into a product. And now there is one company, one of our collaborators, who is taking to the global market of a very, very with very high cost. So we are glad that IIT Madras could make a, we are very glad that Medical Haptics has made this product, and it is a global product that is going to be made. And another product we are talking about the laparoscopic surgery simulator, again with the touch feedback. There are very costly simulators out there, but IIT Madras has made a prototype which with haptic feedback much better than the imported ones, which cost about 1.5 crores or whatever it, and Medical Haptics is taken to the market with the help of IIT Madras. And then we have this epidural injection simulator again, and these are the some procedures which are very very risky for the labor patients. If there is a small problem, the labor women face the risk of being neurological damage throughout the life. So our simulators helps the doctor to practice this epidural injection and without the patients, and therefore guarding or saving the patients, reducing the patient's risk. So any needle procedures in the hospital can be simulated with these kind of technologies. So right now we are working with several clients, and not only in India and also abroad for making the simulators reach the market.
Congratulations on the IVF simulator you mentioned about. So you mentioned about the IVF simulator, laparoscopy, and epidural simulators. So this obviously the IVF you mentioned you have a partner. So now how does this work? Once you have these products, these build, are these deployed in medical institutes for those trainee doctors to train and understand these procedure better? How does this work? Is my first question. And where do you think the future of learning is going? Because of COVID, everything has gone remote. Now with tools such as virtual reality and haptic feedbacks will allow students to be sitting anywhere around the world. You could be sitting in an urban area or rural area. Are you saying that this would somewhere not eliminate but maybe take out the importance of a brick and mortar institutions or colleges?
Definitely, this is where the technology, specifically VR technology, we want to use it for democratizing the training. So in this case, let us take an example of this IVF. IVF needs a small box which is now simulating the touch feedback. Therefore, the students have to come to a training center as of now, and they put on the head-mounted display, and then they feel as if they are in a virtual delivery room, and they can practice every step of the IVF procedure, and then there is a real-time feedback of how correctly they are doing, how much pressure that they are applying, whether they are overshooting, they are undershooting, and how much distance they travel, and how much time they have taken. So with all this data, what do you call analytics, their learning is actually faster. They learn quickly how to do this procedure. So they actually make mistakes in the virtual learning, and that is intended. Only when they make a mistake, they can learn to not to make a mistake. So, in fact, in the real IVF procedure, I am sure you were aware of it. Every IVF doctor damaged first 30 patients before they learn this skill. So, can the technology used to reduce the benefits and practice? So that's where the democratization picture. So to answer your other question on how we can make it remote, as of now, let us we are trying to make this clinical first year MBBS students or second year MBBS students who cannot go to the laboratory at all, who are sitting in the their hostels or rooms, but still they have to undertake the laboratory. That's experiential learning. How our virtual reality technology with the haptics can enable the clinical experiential learning without being physically there. That's where the telepresence comes into picture. Again, we see that a lot of innovation. And not only in medical colleges, even in engineering colleges, even in IIT Madras, our
Exactly.
students have not returned to colleges at all, right? They are still sitting at their home. Last 1.5 years, they could not they could not undertake any laboratory exercises. Without laboratory exercises, experience of IIT is not much. Therefore, we are trying to take efforts, take the technology of virtual reality and the haptics, enable our students, enable medical students have this immersive laboratory experiences. That's
Right.
where the democratization of the technology comes into picture, because once we have this technology, not only our IIT students, our medical students, every private engineering college can make use of the best laboratories in India or best laboratories in the world. The democratization of the laboratory immersive experience is really happening.
Right. Yeah. So we are entering an exciting space, an exciting time. The technology, the growth is no longer linear, it's exponential. We are also laying the foundation of the digital twin or the metaverse, if you might say, where we are digitizing all the physical objects, sensorizing the physical objects. And these things could create huge transformation. The education itself could be completely upended. There's some MOOCs, massive open online courses, which is education which is available out there for free. So I'm excited for that India, where education is not just for this privileged lot who are in the urban areas, but also in the rural areas. And the rural area, the because there are some amazing talent over there who have a the desire and intent to create innovation, but they are constrained. And virtual reality, haptics, once it converges, I think will create a world which will really be completely transformed. Now, I asked you this question earlier also. Do you see a role of brain computer interface coming into making haptic feedbacks and virtual reality really potent? Because there are some of the top companies around the world, such as Neuralink, which is Elon Musk company, there's Kernel, which is Brian Johnson company, there's Control Lab, which is Facebook, and so many others. DARPA has got doing their own stuff. Do you believe that once we understand the entire brain, we won't need these haptic gloves or haptic body suits? That could be just something which could maybe simulate those regions. And do you see a world where that could be a possibility, where we won't need the gimmicks of a big virtual reality headset or VR haptic gloves and things like that?
So definitely it has a role, and the technology is growing, but still all these technologies are in the laboratory phase. Nothing is going to be mass market. There are actually challenges, and the challenges will be solved eventually. For example, now we took the micro needle. For example, when I was at MIT, we did some experiment of not me, not me, but my team. So they took the signal from monkey and then given to brain. After processing, they want to transfer the signal back to another monkey. So can you imagine whatever one monkey wanted to do, the other monkey will do. So in a futuristic battle, for example, whatever the commander wants to do, okay, the soldiers will be able to do. Unfortunately, that experiment has been stopped at the Congress because of the lot of ethical reasons. So eventually, this technology is possible. But let me tell you something that may be exciting for we Indians. So there's a lot of things we can do beyond this, the neurons, brain. That's where then now our mind comes into picture. There is none, there is nobody else understands the mind better than the Indians. Okay. In the modern and science, if you look at it, mind is a black box,
Right.
and it is not considered pure science at all. And that is where we Indians have an edge over it. If you look at the virtual reality and the haptics, these are all experiential, where the perception plays a major role in it. Perception is learned to do with the mind. How we perceive things and things like that is well understood in our culture, but unfortunately we lost all those culture, and then it's all in the religious textbook. And it is very sad that all the science, whatever we had, it's all given a religious cover, and therefore, no, it is not. No, I would say it is almost lost. So it is time we look at our science from the science perspective, not from the religious perspective, and dig out it, and then now contribute to the science of virtual reality and haptics. And I think we can be the leader, and we can be the place where the future of VR technology is coming from. There's a lot of potential because the outside world doesn't consider mind as a important component. That's what might take it. So imagine, for example, I always tell my students like this: what is the ideal virtual reality experience? Ideal virtual reality experience is something like ultimate. Let us say, what could be the ultimate virtual reality experience? So ultimate in the sense, without any VR headsets, without any haptic devices, can I give you an experience of being in a virtual reality or augmented reality, or let's say feel the haptics? That will be the ultimate. Without any gadgets, can I just play with your mind? Can I just play with your all your whatever it is? That would be the ultimate. And that ultimate virtual reality can come from only from India, nowhere else. Maybe we are very far away from there, but no, that is going to come from only India.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. So I'm feeling really excited. I've got goosebumps over here because I share your belief, and I think yes, India, 1.3 billion people. We don't have a single tech company that we can boast of. We've got the greatest mind, and what we do is we export them because somehow we are not nourishing them or nurturing them over here. We, like you said, in our scriptures, if you just look, we've got great science. If we just separate that from the religious, we can create an India which will be so awesome that it will, and I'm really excited. So I think, yeah, that's something I hope my listeners will also take, and I hope that in the near future we Indians create virtual reality, and what you said, like the full dive virtual reality, which is the ultimate virtual reality. And yes, we are capable of doing that. Would you like to talk about CAVE, the Consortium of Augmented Reality and Virtual Reality Experts, and what does it do, and how does it benefit industry and academia?
Yeah, sure. So, as a part of the Center for Virtual Reality and Haptics, we have this consortium. We call it as a consortium for augmented and virtual reality engineering. It includes startup companies, industry, OEM partners, and a few government agencies who can fund as well, few venture capitalists as well. Because some of the startup companies, some of our members, paid members, we have about 83 members as of now. Some members, they want some projects to be done. They don't have the technology to do it. They don't know how to do it. So we connect to the other members who have the know. We know that they have done similar projects. So if they lack certain expertise, we guide them with handhold them to that particular technology. And this is like a happening place. So it's a kind of matchmaking. That is happening, and also as a consortium together with the government agencies and startups, We are actually creating this VR policy. We help every company to come up with a VR policy. If a company do not have a VR policy, it is going to be out of the market, out of the trend in the coming days. Every company has to think about a VR policy. That's going to be the future. That's going to be now in the next 1 year. So as a consortium, we are helping every company to adapt, every government department to realize the potential of virtual reality and adapt it to improve its efficiency. So in the education department, in the training department, in the industry department, everywhere we see a lot of potential and connect our members to make impacts. Because now IIT Madras can only play a platform. It cannot do the nitty-gritty of it. So we believe all our members can help this VR community or the stakeholders of the VR community to reach out. And as a consortium, we have a bigger vision. Our vision is not very short time. It is a 20-year vision. In 20 years, we want to make India as a VR corridor of the entire world. If you know, today India is known as the IT corridor of the entire world. In 20 years, I think we want to make India the VR corridor of the entire world because there is so much of demand, even now, right now, but there is no good programmers, good system developers. Can IIT Madras and the scale, along with member institutes, not just IIT Madras, there are other IITs also joining hands with us. So together, make, can we create these infrastructures required for making this VR corridor? The first infrastructure we are investing is this. Now, can we create 1 million VR programmers in the next 5 years? Okay. That is a big task. For this, we are talking to our government agencies to help us to scale up the VR skills so that we can reach this, achieve this dream. And specifically, we want to help our government to reach out to rural youths where we can actually tap. There is a lot of youths now who don't have other opportunities or they do not know the opportunities outside. We want to train them to the international market, VR market, so that they can go out and rock and then come back and then help India to prosper.
Thank you. I think we need more individuals such as yourself. I've been in this industry since 2015. I'm super excited for this conversation, and I really mean it with my heart because this, for the first time in 2000, in 6 years, I've heard someone say that India has a 20-year plan for VR, and you have a vision of getting 1 million programmers, virtual reality programmers. I think it's when we put an intent and rather than talking about it, the future can really open up. There's a lot of people I know who talk but really do not plan and put their action into a plan. So thank you for doing that. Wish you the very best. Would love to play a role, in whatever way possible, to be part of this effort, because I think if we have that, we really will have a India which is future ready and India of abundance. My last question to you, for those listeners, for the students, startups who want to get into it, how lucrative is this going to be? Should they get into it, and how lucrative is this going to be as an opportunity for them? What is the future roadmap for you, Merkle Aptix and Cave?
So for the students, let me first answer, and then I'll tell what's the roadmap for us. For the students, I think AI ML along with virtual reality. Virtual reality is going to be the next wave. Along with virtual reality, haptic, and robotic, and all these exponential technologies together is going to be making a rock over there, and that's going to have a lot of applications coming over there. There's going to be a lot of demand. Already there is a lot of demand. So if you are trying to get into it, I think every day we see new startups coming up in virtual reality and augmented reality. But no, don't say just virtual reality and augmented reality alone. So now I think deep dive into technology and then be specialized in one of these now core areas where you have the unique contributions. Now either pick up any one of these extension technologies and then create a unique application. And there's a lot of opportunities out there. There's a lot of requirements also out there. So I would request everybody to become an expert in virtual reality programming. In virtual reality programming, in the sense, it is not just the Unity alone. It is not the Unreal Engine alone. You have to be platform independent. Either programming or OpenGL program, you should be comfortable with, or NVIDIA's all the tools you should be comfortable with. There are few other game engines. Now, Unigine is there, so be comfortable with it. Depending upon if every game engine has certain unique capabilities. You have to know what game engine to use when. So once that is there, then you should be able to quickly pick it up, adapt it for a particular use case, and then deliver it to the customer. So in IIT Madras, we'll be happy to help you, handhold you as a non-profit organization through our CAVE consortium. CAVE consortium is actually open for everybody to join, and then we'll be happy to handhold you in your career.
Lovely.
So coming back to our roadmap for me as will be for our IIT Madras XTIC and Merkel. We want to be very focused on the healthcare domain, where healthcare training can be affordable. Only in India we think about affordability. No other country can think about affordability because they have a lot of resources, right? So whereas in India we have limited resources and we have huge population. So only in India we have to think about affordability. So whatever the technology we develop, we have to think about affordability. That's where the Merkel Happiness is focusing on. We want to take this technology to the rural India. We want to benefit rural India. That's where coming back to IIT Madras XTIC is that. So XTIC, although the focus is on the VR, AR, and haptics, it also will make use of all this exponential technology, AI and ML, robotics, 3D printing, digital twin, IoT, 5G, whatever it is there. So we want to reach out and democratize education, democratize training, democratize other uses. For example, we are creating a tool for school children to create VR, AR application very quickly, very simply. Okay, so can we enable our 5th standard students create VR apps very quickly? Okay, that is the direction our IIT Madras want. We want to enable everybody, even the school children, create VR, AR quickly. And for me, my roadmap may be to the virtual reality, making India as a happening place for virtual reality. So maybe people are thinking that US or any other country is where the advanced technologies for virtual reality is happening. But I would be very glad to see the day in which India is considered as the leader for virtual reality. That would be my roadmap. Thank you.
We wish you the very best, Professor Mani. Thank you, and may all your dreams come true. And you are actually, laying the building blocks. And I'm sure that what you're saying is gonna be true in another few years. So thank you for taking time and being part of the show and sharing your insights. Yes, you mentioned that technology is converging, and we need to handhold or the future generation. You mentioned that you at IIT Madras are helping school children, 5th grade students, to help build AR VR applications. How cool is that? When we start catching them from that age, they will definitely and surely innovate and build products and services and solutions that will be, would be desired globally. On that note, thank you once again for being part of the podcast, and wish you the very best. And to my listeners, if you like what you see and hear, please press the subscribe button. And until next time, see you guys. Bye bye. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.